Hi everyone, Jon and Stepan here. Jon is not on camera today because something's wrong with my OBS, but I hope you can hear him well.
Hi everybody.
Yeah, Jon and I have already played 2 training games. This is going to be the third one that we record and analyze together. And we just finished it 15 minutes ago. Jon, would you like to say anything about your prep before we start?
Well, since I have a tournament tomorrow, I didn't really prepare specifically for this game. I've just been practicing my openings and have probably spent the last 2 or 3 weeks trying to learn the Caro-Kann as well as some other openings that I know you play. So in that sense, that was preparation. But unlike some of the past training games, I haven't prepared for any specific opening.
Okay. This is the first time I did prepare for a specific opening, as I told you already. So yeah, I was going to play e5. By the way, I was black, and I was going to play e5. I know that you play the Scotch, so I prepared the bishop c5 line. And when you challenged me for the game, I accepted, and then my coffee was done. So I went to get it off the stove and pour it into a cup. And then 10 seconds later, when I came back, you've already played e4, and I automatically played c6. Which,
I might have preferred it had you played e5.
Yeah, but I prepared for the Scotch, so it would have been an interesting game.
That it would have. Did you prepare for the Potter variation?
I don't know what that is.
That's the knight b3 after c5, after bishop c5.
Wait. Yeah. So now here.
Then white captures.
Yeah, white captures and bishop c5, and now knight b3. Yeah. What did you what would you expect here?
From you, bishop b6 is
I mean,
typically the move.
I don't know. Would you play knight b3?
That's the variation I typically play. It's the one that I know the best, and even though it's probably from a objective standpoint worse than the other variations, it tends to throw people off a little bit more. And
so is your plan to trade off this bishop, or?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, typically queen e2, bishop e3 are played to trade off the bishop.
Yeah. I don't mind this variation. I think your knight is offside, and if you're going to spend 2 moves to trade this bishop off, I think black is fine.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, it would have been interesting. Maybe I can play e5 in the next one and not mess up.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, I played c6, and you played d4, and I thought, well, shouldn't you play knight f3 first and then the Scotch? And then I realized that, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the advanced Caro-Kann. Why the advanced variation?
That's the one that I've been preparing for the most. I've tried the exchange variation. I've tried the variation with knight c3. Neither of which I liked as much.
Okay.
I like the space advantage that the advanced variation confers. I know it gives black plenty of fighting chances.
I'm sorry, did you prepare knight f3 specifically?
For the short.
Yeah.
Yeah, I prepared for the short variation.
Okay. Okay, so who do you think is better in the advanced Caro-Kann? If you think anybody is better.
If anybody's better, I think white is slightly better.
Why?
The space advantage, for one. I mean, that's probably the biggest one. And the fact that white is going to have a lead in development with the first move advantage. But the advantage is really small. So if anything, if I had to put it in computer terms, I would guess it'd be something like 0.2 or 0.3.
Yeah, I can't really figure out why the engines like white here. It's a small advantage to white, but I think that for humans it's really hard to sustain that advantage because black has absolutely no problems and he has a very clear plan, whereas on the other hand, white doesn't really have a clear plan. And there are tons of things you can do with white, and black always does the same thing. So I think that if my plan is just to develop my knights, to get my bishop outside, either to g7 or to e7, and I go for c5, then I mean, for humans, I think it's really hard to keep the advantage for white. So anyway, we played kind of the main line, knight d7 castles. h6, I don't have to play h6, but I like this variation the most. I can also play something like knight e7, or c5 immediately, or rook c8, or queen b6. I mean, there are tons of moves. Were you still in theory here?
I think we're still in theory, yeah.
Okay, let's just look at this. Okay, knight bd2 is the main move, knight e7 is the main move. No, I asked, were you still in theory? Sorry. Okay, so g5.
Oh, was I still in theory? Yeah, I can't remember when it was. I think it was g5 that
Yeah. So here a4 is the second most common move. That's a normal move. I prefer knight e1, which you played a few moves later. And now bishop g7 is more common, but I've been preparing this crazy stuff that I managed to play against you, which the engines hate. And after looking at the position for 2 hours, and trust me, I looked at it for 2 hours, I tried to figure out where the +1 or +2 advantage comes from, which the engine gives. So the normal plan here is, okay, we can just show the theory. So bishop g7, a5 is the main move, queen c7, bishop d2, I think. And now black can either castle, or castle long, or play f6, or play knight g6. Okay, the main move is f6, just trying to undermine the center, and when this happens, black is fine. But, okay, I wanted to go for a different setup, and that's what I played, knight g6. And now you played a5. a6 has been played here once before. We are looking at the live book here, but why waste time? So g4, what did you think about the position here?
I knew you were on the attack. I still wasn't sure you were necessarily better, but the position suddenly became very sharp.
Yeah.
Like, the problem with engines is that whatever score they give to a position is based on the best possible score for white or for black, 20 moves down the line.
Yeah.
Even if only one of, even if you have to play perfectly for 20 straight moves, it'll give that score, and if you don't play one of those 20 perfect moves, sometimes it'll give a score, or, sometimes it would be horrible for white.
Yeah. Yeah.
So whatever the engine says, I kind of brush off. This for me was a very difficult position.
Well, I
was definitely having to think on my feet here.
This is uncommon, and knight g6, g4, I can turn on the engine so that you can see the evaluation. Okay, so it's more than +1, almost +1.5. And after knight e1, the plan is knight d3 and f4, and that's the position I analyzed at home. And this is basically the only thing I'm afraid of when I play this.
Yeah.
So here the plan is not bishop g7, which is more sensible, and then f6, but bishop e7. And now the engine gives this as almost lost for black. Okay, so +2.5.
You actually prepared for this?
Yeah, this was my prep 6 months ago, and
okay,
I wanted to get into this variation for a long time, this pawn sacrifice, in which, I mean, I really don't mind giving up this pawn, and I continue with queen c7. And okay, so now the main problem is knight d3, and if I try to continue with my plan of castles, then you can play f4, and that's what I don't like, because now you get a lot of counterplay. You are controlling c5. I don't really have such a big attack. You can play rook f3, rook g3, and you're a pawn up.
Yep.
And this isn't a hard plan to find, in my opinion. This knight d3 and f4. And it's the best one, but still, it's not that clear why white is better. I mean, if I continue with g4, h5, and you move your queen away, and I play rook d to g8, and I move my knight to h4, it's not easy to defend this.
No.
So yeah, that was my idea, but you played knight f3 instead. Why?
Yeah, I was waffling between knight f3 and knight d3. Knight d3, I did want to protect the e5 pawn, and knight d3 accomplishes that. But I also thought there could be some threats on the d4 pawn. Not now, but in the future.
Yeah, sacrifice.
And I also wanted to protect the h4 square. Right now, both your bishop and knight are pressing on that. So I figured if your knight comes to h4 at some point, I would want to be able to snag it immediately. Now, I did see after I played knight f3 that it is cutting off my queen. And so I kind of saw the problems that I was about to have. But I figured despite that, I kind of figured I would be able to get my queen out of that space, which I eventually was, but it was a bit more complicated and it cost a lot of time too.
I was looking at, instead of knight d3, the move I was looking at also was just queen f3. And now if the knight comes to h4, then, okay, the queen has to move
just
around a bit.
Grab f7 maybe. Oh wait, no, f7
is defending.
Yeah, I'm an idiot.
The queen can go to e2, and then if I try to castle now you can play probably knight f3.
Yeah.
And it also works, because if after queen f3 I just castle, then I lose my f7 pawn. If I play something like rook h7, then I'm not really happy with my rook here. So queen f3, yeah, but knight f3 is kind of weak. Okay, so why bishop d2?
That was another one of the thematic moves. I just liked that it gave, like I was already on a good diagonal. The bishop was already on the c1 to h6 diagonal, which is good. But by moving it to d2, it also gives me some flexibility to bring it to c3 or b4 at some point.
Yeah.
And it also just connects the rooks, so I can bring the a rook over. As long as the knight on b3 protects the a5 pawn, then I'm not too worried about that.
Did you consider a6 c4 at all? I mean,
I did not. I did consider a6 at some point, but whenever you started your kingside attack, that kind of that plan just got blown up.
I think that you still have time. First of all, a6 forces me to play b6, so
right,
you can just play that.
Right.
I have to waste the tempo. And then if you try c4, I don't see what's wrong with that. If I play rook here, then I don't know, queen here. Your bishop is defending f4, which is very important. And now we are going to continue with bishop d2, rook c1 or rook fc1. And when you open this, obviously if I take with the e pawn, then the queen is very good. That's why I didn't like queen h5 later from you. I think the queen is necessary on h3 for this pawn. And then if I take with this pawn, then of course I lose immediately. So I thought that you should be going for counterplay. I'm not sure what the engine is going to say, but I think that the engine should understand this move as well. Maybe not c4 immediately. Maybe that's too slow. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wants to stop h5.
Right.
Okay. But yeah, bishop d2 is a fine move. And now rook d to g8, which is normal, and queen h5. Why not queen h3?
I wanted to stop you from playing h5. I wanted to freeze that pawn.
Okay.
And also put a little bit of pressure on the f7 pawn if you move your knight.
Okay. Did you consider bishop g5? I thought that was my best move of the game. I don't know. Because after bishop g5, if you take, then I open up my rook.
Right.
If you don't take and I take, well, let's say you play, I don't know, a6 and rook here, and I take, and I get knight f4, and then so
yeah, you are still hanging your f7 pawn there.
Does that matter? You're hanging here.
Go back to it. Okay, king h1.
Okay.
Hmm. Yeah, I'd probably just play.
Queen h7 is the only move.
Yeah. Say what?
Queen h7. That's
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what I would do after that, but yeah.
I don't know. It looks like you're in trouble.
That is a bit of a threat. Yeah.
Okay, so bishop g5, and I thought that your best try was probably bishop b4. Then this move seems stupid. But then I saw knight f4 still, and now I don't have any good discoveries because I lose my knight.
Right.
But I was looking at this, and then if you take with the queen, I don't have anything. So that's the flaw I found. I thought that bishop b4 could be good. But you took. And now yeah. Did you consider queen g5?
I did. I'm trying to figure out why I didn't like it.
Well, this is the only crucial variation. What troubled me?
Yeah, that's why I didn't like it.
Yeah, but bishop f4 doesn't work. So.
Right.
And also, I was looking at this, and after knight takes, bishop f4 still doesn't work.
Right.
Yeah, so the queen cannot take on g5, so we played queen e2, which is normal. And now, I don't know, maybe I had a faster win. Did you see any tactics here? I was trying to make something work.
Well, I know you were trying to mate me on h2.
Yeah.
I saw that vulnerability immediately.
Yeah, well, that's the
which
point
is why I was
of
trying to
c7.
protect the e5 pawn.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned in the chat that that part of my wanting to protect e5 earlier when I played knight f3, or trying to decide between that and knight d3 was the fact that I could see some potential tactics coming up where you could sacrifice your d7 knight to open up that diagonal.
I don't know. Maybe
So,
maybe I can give it up here.
Huh?
Do you think knight takes e5 works now?
No. But the entire point of protecting e5 for me was to stop you from having that sort of tactic in the future.
Yeah, I understand. But do you think it would have been good here?
I mean, at the very least, I've got something like g3. Yeah, and then you're just a minor piece down.
But how do you continue here?
Probably bishop c3.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good move. I didn't see that.
Yeah, I'll just take the rook.
And now? And it's still not easy.
Yeah.
The black is dead lost, but it's not easy. I'm not sure.
Right.
Okay, yeah, just take on e6.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I didn't go for that. I didn't want to give up my piece because f6 is really strong. You can't take.
Right.
And now the key point. I think that white was completely winning up to this point according to the engine, because I know that these positions are never good for black according to the engine. Once again, I think black is winning if two humans are playing. But after your next move, I think even the engine agrees.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the engine just considers perfect play.
Yeah.
Whenever it gives a score, so.
But what was the point of f4?
Primarily to get a move out there before I started running out of time.
Okay.
It's one of those situations it's never smart to do, but somehow I always end up doing it at least once per game, where I'll go through and calculate 3 or 4 different moves, and then when I find out they don't work, I'll just play play another move that looks good without calculating just to save time.
Yeah. But it's off at 7.5 minutes here after f4.
Yeah, but there's a lot of game to go.
Yeah. Or not after f4.
Yeah, there are 7.5 minutes, I think, as soon as I played f4.
So here, I don't think taking with the pawn works as well.
Yeah, and I realized potentially, instead of taking with the bishop, I might have been better sacrificing the exchange.
Okay. Why is that?
Because at the end of that, I'm still protecting e5, at least a bit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then I can probably just put my bishop on h2 and try and ride it out.
I don't know. Wait, let's look at that. With an engine. Okay. Rook takes. Yeah, it's probably not good.
Takes.
Yeah, okay.
Rook h4. Yeah.
Okay, but let's look at some other options instead of f4. Did you consider anything else?
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, okay, so before f4 I was looking at, obviously I knew I couldn't take on f6. I was looking at counterplay ideas like knight c5.
Okay.
But then the tactic there is that
you can just take, you take on e6.
Take, and then.
But yeah, I'm not going to do that.
It falls apart.
I think just taking on c5 and then taking on e5 with the knight would be enough.
Right.
If you try g3 here,
you
can probably just do this. And
I looked at rook e1.
Which rook?
The f rook. Okay. Though I guess the a rook would have been fine too. Yeah. Problem is the pieces that you're exchanging. If I'm recapturing at any point, I'm going to have to capture with my queen first, when you will still have a knight left to capture.
Yeah.
And I figured if you did take with the pawn on f4, then I would actually be okay. But then you captured with the knight.
How is this okay? How is this okay? I mean, it's worse than taking with the knight, but I don't think it's okay for white.
I think I was looking at bishop takes.
Okay.
Knight takes. I guess that transposes, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's the same thing. But after, just a second, after pawn takes, I don't think you have to take. That's the difference. I think you can just play rook f3 and now.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
And now this diagonal is not that weak.
Right.
Now if I take here, I mean, so what? Just give up the exchange and survive. That was my idea.
Right.
Because I thought that white was just dead lost and okay, but after knight takes f4, there's no tricks like that. Bishop takes, g takes.
Right, I'm basically forced to take.
Yeah, rook a1, and now you're defending e5 some more, so rook g5, and now this is, I think, rook f4, which you played, makes little or no sense. Why did you take that pawn?
Panic.
Yeah, okay, I can understand that. And now here, why did you take this pawn?
Panic.
Okay, yeah, this is after rook takes e5, you're losing the rook.
Yeah.
Or
there is.
or getting
Yeah,
checkmated or
there's
losing.
nothing. Yeah, there was nothing there. I realized, in calculating it for that one, that last minute or 2 minutes or whatever, that yeah, the game is over at this point.
Yeah, but let's see. I'm sure you were winning before f4. Let's just see. Yeah, okay. Plus 1.2, plus 1.1 with g3.
Yeah, that's when we were looking at it just briefly after the game. That's the point where I turned the engine on just to see
Yeah.
what that or at least what the engine thought of f4, because I realized afterwards that it didn't work, but it was not immediately obvious to me what did work, and I spent several minutes just thinking about that one move. And g3 is so obvious, but it's amazing how in the midst of an attack you can miss it.
But do you really
or at least
think?
I can miss it.
Do you really think White can survive this?
Given the amount of time it takes to think about the best defense, probably not.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, with f4 seems like a good move. But let's say you play something normal. Give me a move which you would consider here.
Let's see.
I would still have.
Yeah, maybe bishop e2 or
Bishop d2.
bishop e2, or sorry, e3.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean,
How do you defend this? I don't understand how this can be better for White. And that's the thing. The engine. Okay, now Black is winning. Okay, so.
yeah, so not a great move.
Okay, so f4 is probably the only move.
Yeah. Let me turn it on my computer and see what.
Yeah.
I played g3.
Yeah, but f4. Still after g3, I would rather be Black. I don't really think this is good for you.
Yeah. Engine says f4 and queen g4 are the only decent moves in that position we were looking at.
Queen g4 also.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it also stops knight h4.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, does it? Yeah, I guess it does. You can take with the pawn.
Yeah, you can take with the pawn. So.
Can't take with the bishop.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what do you think about the game?
Compared to the previous training game we played, I thought I did okay up until the end there, and then it just all fell apart.
Yeah.
It's making me want to play the Caro-Kann as Black a little bit more. It is, I have to say, it is a very interesting opening.
It's the best opening.
Well, of course you would say that.
Well, you will say that after you've played it for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the structures it creates, and it does give Black a lot of attacking chances, which is part of why I like the Sicilian against e4. But yeah, I've been playing the Sicilian the entire time and have been looking to switch it up. So the Caro-Kann looks like it's a pretty good system to replace it.
Yeah, the Caro-Kann is great. And the Caro-Kann is great because it's a setup and you learn where your pieces go. Now, Queen c7 was not a theoretical move here, but the queen belongs on c7. And so the moves come very natural after you get some experience. Whereas in the Sicilian, you just need to be precise all the time. That's at least what I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is very strong.
Okay, so yeah. So start playing the Caro-Kann. I'm really looking forward to that. So next training game, I'll be White and you play the Caro-Kann.
All right. That sounds good to me.
Okay. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you liked the video. Hope you liked the game. Jon, do you have anything to add?
Nope. Just thanks for watching.
Okay, then see you tomorrow, everybody, and stay tuned for more chess. Bye-bye.
Bye.